Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today we're talking about Sanguinius. This is a long time coming. I should have talked about him a lot sooner. But anyways, before we get into the video, I just want to say a quick thank you. You guys have been pretty accepting of what I do here. I'm sure you guys don't believe it, don't have to. But I know we're being kind of under attack, saying we're this and we're that, but you guys have accepted me. I've had 60 videos and I've had maybe 5 cuss me out. The rest have been supportive or, they like what I'm doing. They may not agree. That's fine, right? And it's been probably one of the best experiences and best decisions, So I want to thank you guys for letting me in and being part of probably the best community that I've been a part of, other than the Christian community, of course. But anyways, I just wanted to say that. So, and also take the wikis with a grain of salt, as we know. And I do regular biblical videos on Mondays, and then the rest is Warhammer 40k content. So now that we got that out of the way. Sanguinius, also known as the Great Angel and the Brightest One, during his lifetime, was the Primarch of the Blood Angels Legion of the Space Marines and genetic ancestor of the Adeptus Astartes chapters, who comprised the Sanguinary Brotherhood in the 41st millennium. He was in many ways often considered the noblest and most respected of the Primarchs, even by his own brothers, including Horus. Despite this, he was tragically slain during the climax of the Horus Heresy. In the Siege of Terror, Horus Heresy, at the Siege of Terror, defending the Emperor of Mankind from the War Master Horus aboard his flagship, the Gloriana class battleship Vengeful Spirit. Though Horus slew Sanguinius, he had once been his closest and greatest friend amongst the other Primarchs. Imperial legend holds that it was the chink in Horus's armor created by the great angel that allowed the Emperor to slay the arch heretic and thus prevent mankind from falling to the corruption of the ruinous powers of chaos. Let's get into the history. The Primarch Project. The Space Marine Legions were the greatest creations of the Emperor of Mankind. That immortal, godlike being crafted incredible transhuman warriors to help him conquer the galaxy and reunite mankind's lost colony worlds in the wake of the Age of Strife. And if you guys don't know, there was a warp storm that basically cut off humanity from each other, so that's why you have the Great Crusade and all that. But anyways, amongst these legions were the Blood Angels, the 9th Legion, who from their earliest days fought staunchly in the service of the Emperor and their Primarch both. Like all the first founding Space Marine legions, the Blade Angels were born from the dying flames of the Age of Strife. The risen Emperor had united the warring factions of Terra through the Unification Wars, yet his vision did not end with one mere planet, nor even with the solar system in which it lay. His goal was nothing less than the reunification of scattered humanity, to bring about the sundered worlds and realms of humankind under a single beneficent rule. To do this, he would need a mighty arm, an army unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, an army whose warriors knew no other loyalty than their emperor, in whose bodies and minds were hardened to withstand unceasing war. So were the Space Marines created. The Emperor had long ago refined the techniques of genetic manipulation of the human genome. He set these skills to work once again, forging 20 extraordinary transhuman super warriors, each an embodiment of an aspect of war, as his generals and his consuls in the coming campaign within his secret gene laboratory, hidden beneath the Himalayan the Himalayan mountains, basically. Thus were born the Primarchs of the Space Marine legions, incredible, superhuman beings whose martial powers were to be the second only to the Emperor himself. Yet, as with all great labors, the genesis of the Space Marines did not go entirely according to design. Ain't that the truth? The Emperor's plan for his Primarchs was to be undone before it had properly begun. Without warning, the Primarchs disappeared, stolen from the Emperor's laboratory while still within their gestation capsules, scattered throughout the galaxy through the warp by an unknown force. Sanguinius comes to Baal, sorry. I get the Bible mixed up when I see this. My bad. Soon after the Emperor created the Primarchs, the ruinous powers of chaos made off with the infants and carried them through the Imperium. Unable to destroy the Primarchs outright because of the powerful arcane psychic protections laid upon their gestating forms by the Emperor. The Dark Gods nonetheless did their best to alter the Emperor's work to their own selfish ends. Thus, it was that, even at the best of the Emperor's creations, became corrupted at the outset. My goodness. The gestation pod that housed the infant Sanguinius came to rest upon the moon of Baal, known as Baal Secundus, at the place now called Angel's Fall. By the way, Devastation of Baal is a great book, by the way. Anyways, now I lost my spot. Okay, known as Baal Secundus, at the place now called Angel's Fall. The infant Primarch was found by one of the wandering tribes of humans who called themselves the folk of pure blood, or simply the blood. The young Sanguinius' life almost came to an end then and there, for the touch of chaos had changed him. Tiny vestigial wings, like those of an angel, emerged from his back. Many wanted to kill the child as a mutant, though in all other ways he was a perfect child as had ever been seen. He was as perfect a child as had ever been seen. Eventually, innate compassion prevailed, and the child was spared. Sanguinius was indeed angelic, not just physically, but also within his unblemished soul. Many of the parables and psalms still recited by the blood have been transcribed by the blood angel librarians over the years, and are kept with reverence in the most sacred shrine archives of the blood angels. Although the details of Sanguinius' earlier life are lost to time and memory, the notable events of his childhood have been told and retold so many thousands of times by the Belite tribes that they have become ingrained in the culture memory. Like the other Primarchs, Sanguinius grew to maturity at an incredible rate, as did his wings. The feathers were as white and pure as a swan's, but as strong as those as the imperial Aquila itself. His wings ultimately became mighty pinions that could bear him aloft through the scorching desert air, inspiring awe and devotion from the lesser mortal beings beneath. Sanguinius learned everything his adoptive parents within the blood could teach him. After only 3 solar weeks, he was as large as a child of 3 Terran years and could walk. It is said that at this age he slew a giant fire scorpion with his bare hands, and that he never once showed fear at the colossal beast's onset. But the time he was a standard year old, Sanguinius looked and acted like a man in his youthful prime. He could walk without a radiation suit in the poisoned, radioactive wastelands of Baal Secundus. In the use of all weapons, he soon excelled his teachers. He could smash a path through a rockfall with the blade of his hand. Best wild animals with a glance, and soar high into the sky on his mighty wings to observe the land below from the perspective of a god. As Sanguinius reached maturity, his tribe prospered, and grew under his wise guidance. When the wandering band of feral ball-like mutants surprised his tribe, Sanguinius slew them all single-handedly. Although they numbered over 100, this was the first time that the members of the Blood had ever seen the great angel truly angry, for he felt his comrades' lives were in danger. When the blood rage overtook him, he was indeed terrible to behold. The full powers of a Primarch came upon him, and the nimbus of light played about his head. Sanguinius distinguished himself in the fateful years that followed. He soon rose to the pinnacle of the primitive society present on Baal Secundus, and under his leadership, the pure-blooded Baalite tribes united against the infestation of mutants that had begun to plague the radioactive wastes of the moon. Under his perfect leadership, coupled with his total mastery of physical combat, the Baalite tribes drove back the tide of mutant filth that threatened humanity's hold upon their poisoned world. Under Sanguinius' direction, mankind earned another chance to build a civilization upon Baal Secundus. In time, as a result of this accomplishment, Sanguinius was inevitably worshipped as a god by the humans of Baal, who owed him so much. They were convinced that the paradise would follow in the crimson footsteps of the great angel. Yet it was shortly thereafter that the fate intervened once more. So we all know about the coming of the emperor. We're going to move to in the Great Crusade, the Horus Heresy. The terrible events of the Horus Heresy had a more horrifying and permanent effect upon the Blood Angels than any other loyalist Space Marine legions. It is the tragic fate that has shaped the Blood Angels and all the successor chapters since that time. Just as it seemed that the Emperor's dream could be fulfilled, the Great Crusade ended in the most terrible and unimaginable way. It came to pass that the Imperial War Master Horus, once the Emperor's most trusted and beloved son, turned to chaos and plunged the dagger of betrayal so far into the heart of the Imperium that it is yet to recover from this evil deed 10 millennia later. In a tragic sequence of events, the corrupt and evil being that Horus had become managed to manipulate and coerce several other Primarchs, turning them against their own father and mentor, the Emperor himself. These upon the Imperial Palace on Terra. Upon the Imperial Palace. Hold on. These events culminated after savage years of civil war in the combined attack of Horus's Traitor Legion forces upon the Imperial Palace on Terra. Space Marine fought Space Marine. Traitor battled Loyalist until the fortifications of Terra's greatest edifice looked set to fall. Chaos was ascendant. The powers that Horus had allied himself with had given him power beyond imagining, at the cost of his immortal soul. All right, so I'm going to talk about the flaw at the end. So we're going to move into the biblical stuff. So I think a lot of people were probably expecting me to do the Lucifer stuff. I did that for the Emperor, but also Lucifer is a man, right? It says that. It literally calls him a man, right? Which Sanguinius is. So I wanted to use an angel. Now, so we're going to get into the King of Tyr. There's also what's interesting. Hold on. Check this out. So Ezekiel 28:2. So this is the Prince of Tyrus. So this may be Lucifer himself or Baal, which is interesting. But anyways, Son of man, say unto the Prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, ready, which is interesting, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man, not God. And you can go in Isaiah 14, it literally calls him a man too. So I just want to get that out here. But now the guy I'm talking about, we're going to talk about the King of Tyr. He's a cherub. There's also another misnomer on this guy, too, that he's Satan, right? Well, Satan is called the dragon and the serpent. Nowhere in the Bible does it describe cherubim as serpents, right? Well, what entity would that be? A seraphim. Daniel. They're in Daniel, right? And it means fiery serpent. But anyways, so they want to get out there. So this is a different different entity. But anyways, sorry. So, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the King of Tyr, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, the topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of the tabrets and the pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so, that thou was upon the holy mountain of God, that thou hast walked up and down the midst of the stones of fire. These are mountains in heaven, right, that are kind of fiery. But anyways, you get a picture of that in the book of Enoch. Okay, thou was perfect in thy ways from the day thou was created, till iniquity was found in thee. Now, Sanguinius was always loyal to the emperor, but this character is very interesting. Now, I want to show you guys. Hold on. What a cherubim pretty much looks like, in my opinion. So if you check out, this is the god Brahma. He's got 4 heads. Isn't that interesting? Right? So, just an interesting tidbit there. Now we're going to get into madness, right? So Psalms 142, or in 2, which imagine mischiefs in their heart continually are they gathered together for war. Okay. Deuteronomy 28:28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. Okay. Proverbs 16:32. Now I put this in here just to kind of give like one of those proverbs, literally proverb, right? He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit is greater than he that taketh the city. That is true. You got to be able to control yourself, even in war, right? Anyways, now I always put this in there when I talk about the Space Marine factions and stuff. So Jeremiah 51:20, Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee I will break into pieces the nations, and with thee I will destroy kingdoms. All right. I know that wasn't the best biblical explaining that I've done, but anyways, apologize for that. So now we're going to get into the flaw. Before his fall, Horus and Sanguinius had fought many campaigns by each other's side. Their relationship was so close, it had even incited jealousy amongst their brother Primarchs on occasion. But in his black heart, Horus knew that Sanguinius would never willingly betray their father, and so he had formulated an audacious plan to either convert the Blood Angels Legion to his cause or utterly destroy them. To this end, Horus had discovered solar decades earlier a carefully guarded secret of the Blood Angels when he fought alongside Sanguinius, the Ninth Legion, in a genocidal campaign on the world of Melkor. I think that's how you say it. Melkor. Horus had come upon his brother Primarch in a sunken ruin of an alien chapel and had witnessed the unthinkable. Sanguinius murdering one of his own Astartes. Sanguinius explained his actions to his bewildered brother. He had discovered that within his own genome there was a terrible trait that lay buried and waiting to be awakened. This genetic flaw would later be known as the Red Thirst. So if you don't know, the space or the Blood Angels, of course, you take on the characteristics of your Primarch. So the Blood Angels have this red thirst, and they see their Primarch getting killed by Horus, so they just go crazy and think everybody. And then the Red Angels, they put them in this black suit, right? I mean, it's still a space, marine armor and all that, but they put them in this black suit, and then they just put them out to war, basically. But anyways, thank you guys for listening, and you guys have a wonderful day.